Welcome back to MBS Fitness Radio, where we share stories of health and fitness success and valuable information to help you, our listeners, have success on your journeys. In this podcast, I have Chris Hoppe on, and we discuss our 2023 theme for MBS Fitness, which is a why to train for. We get really deep on this podcast, and it's one of my favorite podcasts that we've ever done. I really encourage you to take the time to listen to this. I think you're going to get a lot out of it. Things to pay attention to, the biggest takeaways are the importance of having a why and the importance of coming up with a strategy to overcome the obstacles that are going to show up before they show up. So enjoy MBS Fitness Radio.
Get ready for a no BS approach to health and fitness. This is MBS Fitness Radio.
All right. What is up, everybody? This is Coach Hoppe with NBS Fitness here, interviewing my main man, David Allen, our fearless leader. So we're just going to jump right into this. So as the end of January is approaching, it is that time of year where we are all working on, or supposedly working diligently on, our New Year's resolutions and who we want to be and what we want to become for 2023. And each year at NBS, we focus on a theme. And last year, that was Kill the Lies. Yep. So my question to you is, why did you choose that theme, and what did you hope people gained from it last year, and kind of what did you see?
Yeah, at the time, I just kind of was getting frustrated with a lot of the communication that comes out culturally from the fitness industry, that I hear people saying to themselves in their own heads, and the negative outcomes of that communication. And it's almost like propaganda. It's like propaganda that steals people's joy and really kind of sets them down a path of unhappiness. And it was like, no, I'm not cool with that. That needs to die.
And walk us through a couple of those. What could you give just for anybody that wasn't around last year, any of our new listeners, what were we trying to kill last year? Anything specific that comes to your mind that we can just kind of bring up just to reinvent about it?
Yeah, so some of the cultural lies were kind of like this whole healthy at any size type of thing. And it's not that they don't have good intentions. The intentions behind that was to say, it was to protect people from the negative consequences of shame.
Oh, I got you.
But here's the deal: is what we should be encouraging people to do is to learn how to take shame and use it to create positive outcomes. Because there's a truthful statement that it's you can't be healthy at any size for any amount of time.
Gotcha.
And when you're protecting someone from the potential shame of feeling bad for being overweight, if they could then go throughout their entire life being like, no, I can be healthy at any size and there's no health consequences of this. When they have a heart attack, that's our responsibility. We lied to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I got you. Yeah. So it's kind of putting, and we've talked about this before, putting a little bit more of a metric around health versus this kind of hey, I'm healthy. It's yeah, you may feel healthy, but really let's put some metrics on it so we can measure that and really see the progress over time and really so that somebody can say that, be like, I love who I am, which is great. Yeah. However, we need to put some metrics on that so that we can be that healthy person for a very long period of time, which I think is awesome. No, that's really cool.
Just shift that messaging around and say you can't be healthy at any size for any time, but we're here to help you overcome that.
Yeah.
Some of the internal lies, I think people, and this is also a bit of cultural influence as well, but they tend to tell themselves justifications for improper stewardship of resources. I don't have the time. I can't afford it. That kind of stuff. And I was like, well, that's also a lie.
Yeah.
you're using that lie to relieve yourself of the negative emotions that would come with telling the truth, which is like, I can do this, I could afford it, I can make the time, but I've set myself up where this is going to be difficult, and I don't want to. I don't want to go through that difficult pain that would take for me to become a better person.
I got you.
And so those are just kind of like a couple of examples that I could go on forever about examples. But in the fitness industry itself, promotes silly stuff. Access-based fitness is one of them.
Yeah. And explain that for people that may not know what that is.
Access-based equipment is telling people that the path forward to be healthy and fit is just access to equipment. Which, if that was the case, you would already be fit because you don't need equipment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's good. I think that one is so prevalent, and it's one of those that seems like it's low-hanging fruit, but it's one that we all buy into, and I think that's why we see this time of year, we see that big rush, and everybody's like, "Oh, gym membership's $10. Like, that's what I need. I just need $10." You know,
that's another lie.
Yeah, there you go.
That a $10 investment into your health and fitness is a worthy investment, or a reasonable investment, Because it's, I mean, like, we sit there and go like, "Oh, what's a reasonable investment in a car?" Oh, $20K. What about your phone?
Yeah.
$50 a month,
$50 a month,
$75 a month, entertainment, Amazon purchases, coffee, all
easy,
that
couple
kind of
$100 a month,
The little thing that keeps you alive.
Yeah.
$10.
10, and that's pushing. I better get some good perks for that $10.
Exactly.
I better get everything that comes with it, including the fitness. I better just need to walk in. I love that. I love that we're trying to kill that lie. So aside from kind of the examples in our community, how do you feel like that played out throughout the year, and how do you feel like that kind of informed our 2023 theme, which we'll kind of dive into here in a minute?
Well, one of the ways that we kind of took action with that was really kind of amped up our marketing. And like what our marketing is not it's not sign up now and get $20 off a membership. What our marketing is like, here's how to have success. I mean, that's pretty much all we put out there. Here's examples of success. Here's how to have success. We want to help you have success, and to directly address those lies. And so, like, the first thing I did was I went through a lot of those lies. I was like, I want to shoot a series of videos that now exist for us to use perpetually in the future to help people overcome this. Like, here's how to overcome the issue of time, overcome the issue of money, overcome the issue of injury, all these different things. Yeah. And so, as we put out that the anti-propaganda message, as you start to try to kill the lies with truth, then it hit home for a lot of people. We were able to help people kind of overcome some of those lies and have success, whether that be new people coming in or current members kind of going out.
What would you say is based on what you saw last year, was the biggest way we were able to help kind of people walk through that? If there was like one or two like kind of takeaways for those that may have experienced it, those of us that were there in it, what do you feel are some of the bigger takeaways as far as killing the lies and how we walk people through them?
I think it was creating a culture of understanding within our team and within our membership that like, these are the lies and these are how we address them, so that when like we were faced with them, whether that be in an NSI and someone gives an objection. So someone has said, I need to change my life, and I think you guys can help. And we can help, and here's how we're going to do it. And they go, no. Yeah. And then it's not that they say no. They just say, I would, but here's this obstacle in my way. We had clear messaging and understanding, like, within our own community of, like, that's a lie. Like, we targeted and said, like, these lies exist. Here they are. So then now, when we put that out there, our staff, our members are now aware of it, and they're aware of like the truth, so they can speak to it more properly.
I love that.
Now, and this can kind of go into the 23 thing, is that what it then opened up for us to do was to better kill those lies so that people can overcome them and flourish and flourish in their health and fitness. The issue becomes that even though you may know it's a lie and you may be aware of the truth, that there's still a lot of pain that has to come with overcoming that lie.
Yeah, and that's cool. And I think the way I felt about it last year, kind of being not only am I a coach here at MBS and a staff member, but I'm also a member. And I felt like it was, the first piece was kind of around awareness.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa, those are some serious lies. Like it's going to it forced me to look at where am I lying to myself of like, hey, that's some BS, dude. Like you're kind of full of it right now. You really need to dig a little deeper. Like, what can you do about that? But also the integration piece, which kind of ties into 2023 beautifully, which I think is just really well done, which we'll get into in a minute. But not only being able to be aware of it, but like using the kind of guide protocol that we kind of set out here to walk you through it and say, hey, here's an awareness that this exists. This is this big hairy beast that you've been avoiding in your psyche for so long. But you don't have to walk through that alone. Like, we can navigate those obstacles together and then dive in a little bit deeper, which we're going to do here in a minute, just about what that looks like.
Yeah. I think, if I was just kind of the ultimate lie, or the truth that every life fights against is that, like, is our code that sits in our vivid vision. It's that, like, human flourishing only occurs when the needs of the body are taken care of first. I mean, you guys can read that through, but ultimately it comes as, like, you were given this great gift of life. That life comes in existence of a body. The only proper way to respond to that gift of life and this gift of a body is to steward it well. And that requires exercising, eating right, taking care of your health, or taking care of your mind, your mental health, sleeping, managing your hormones. It's stewardship of that body across the board. And when we fail to do that, it creates a deviation off of optimal. And that deviation off of optimal creates negative impacts across other areas. Meaning, when your body's not taken care of, your mind doesn't operate properly. When your mind doesn't operate properly, your emotions don't operate properly. Your relationships don't operate properly. And so then now every single interaction you have with yourself and with other people's is a muddied down, diluted version of what it could be. And so, with that realization, we there's no justification.
Yeah,
there is no lie or every reason that you have is a lie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of walk yourself into it. You kind of get in that circle, and I feel like that's what last year really helped to point out, was like looking at that cyclical nature that we kind of get into of like how we can reinforce that. Like you're saying, with that holistic approach, it kind of works both ways. Like holistically, like if you're taking care of yourself, it really builds on itself and you can get that compounding interest. It works the opposite direction.
Yes.
And that's where we get caught in that cyclical motion moving downward, where it's like, ooh, hey, I'm just going to buy that lie. Then you buy the next one, then you buy the next one. Then it becomes like, you don't even realize that you're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
And that becomes the hard part, which is brutal. And you say it affects everything. It's not just like we're training for this. It's like we're training for XYZ because it benefits all these other things, which I think is super cool.
Yeah.
But before we dive into what the theme is this year and why that's important, why is it important, do you feel like, to have a theme? Like, why do you spend the time, and you cultivate a lot of, you take a lot of time to cultivate this theme in our culture with our staff, and then we put it out to our members because it's kind of our ethos. It's what we buy into. Yep. Why is that important?
I mean, ultimately, I think it's motivation. It's a common fight that we can all kind of rally against. I think I was reading a book, and he was talking about like how people kind of respond to his like exercise and regimens and stuff, and some people will respond to that in a very defensive, protective mode. Why do you do that? That's too much. You're gonna get hurt. And what I found is if you build up bad habits over like a long period of time, and I'm not just talking about physical bad habits, you almost become unmotivatable. You become so defensive against any push that would force you out of your little comfort zone. You just build this giant wall of defense, and every kind of thing that like tries to penetrate that defense and says like become better, you fight off because you have to like protect your ego, right?
Yeah.
And we're all susceptible to that. Like even being in the fitness industry and being people who take care of ourselves and all that kind of stuff, we still have jobs.
Sure.
You know, we all deal with the same stuff that everyone else deals with. Our alarm goes off when we're tired, and it would be nice to go back to sleep, or our phone doesn't stop, or we've got emails, or we've got clients who maybe aren't as appreciative, or they create stress, or we have stress within our team. Like those things exist across every single organization and group of people, and every single person that deals with this collectively, right? And so what I think it's good for is to bring that team back together and say, like, we're on mission. Like, this is our thing. This is our motivating force. It's creating a message that you can all kind of rally around and try to punch people out of that sludge that they start kind of feeling themselves getting pulled in. You know, it's kind of it's that thing that when you are dealing with some of that, you're like, no, because this is mission. This is our theme. This is kind of, that's a reminding point, and it can be kind of a targeted focus and a repetitive thing that we can kind of rally behind. If I can get my culture, my staff, my clients to all kind of rally behind that, then we're gonna have a better chance of fighting off those potential. We have a better chance of resisting temptation when we're weak.
I like that. It kind of, for me, it feels like the intentional focus, like it just narrows it down, laser focuses it on, this is going to make the biggest impact. Yeah. This is where we're going to dial it in, which I feel like not only as a staff member, but a gym member, like it helps because there's so much out there. And I think that's a fun way that I look at NBS is not only like, and no BS fitness, but also as kind of a crap filter, you know, like there's so much stuff out there that it's like, what do I do? And it becomes paralysis by analysis. And you look at it and it's like, hey, there's 300 programs that cost $5 that are all going to promise me to get 6-pack abs by the end of January. And it's just like, I don't know. I want that. I inherently want that. But when you have somebody that's going to walk me down that road and narrow that sphere of like, hey, this is the stuff that's going to make the biggest bang for your buck, and here's why. Yeah. That's awesome, which kind of naturally kicks us into the next piece, which is what do you think?
Well, I said like, one of the reasons we do all of this stuff, and this is, I mean, these are relatively recent. It's not like I wrote vivid visions and yearly themes when I first opened the gym. Yeah, you know, this is how I've had to learn and grow as a leader. But is the reason we do vivid vision, the reason we do theme is like it's a path that we now know where to walk. It says like, this is who we are and this is how we do things, and we're like, it just makes decision making so much easier.
I love that. That's one of my favorite things about MBS is it really does make the decision making so much easier.
Now we're tempted, but if we have this, if we had this foundation, we go, no, that's not how that's not what we do. That's not how we do it.
Yeah, it gives me a reason to say yes and no to things versus just like, no, that's bad. Yeah. Like, no, I'm going to eventually, my willpower is going to be worn down by the end of the day, and I'm going to make that choice. It's going to, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But if I have a little bit more behind it and I know a little bit why around it, then it's like, ooh, okay, I know I'm deciding to make that. I'm not just, it's just not bad and I'm avoiding it till the future date. It's like, no, I'm choosing to avoid these things because here's why. And it becomes who I am, not this kind of canned program that I'm following. It becomes a part of my being, which inevitably in my experience is what really sticks. It's what really makes something become what we call a lifestyle, you know?
And you think like big organizations have done things well. Like this is kind of how they do it. Like if you've like in football, as you kind of get into camp, like we'd have a theme, like ours were sharks in the water, or like we'd have air attack or ground and pound. You know, every military operations have military units have mottos and themes and mascots, and operations have mottos and themes and mascots, and it becomes a rallying point for you to kind of collectively go, okay, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing this, and how we're going to do it. Now let's go get it done. So to me, it's one of those. Its purpose is to catalyze all of us to larger impact.
I like that. That's a good segue. I love that. With that, no further ado. 2023. What is this year's theme? Why is that important to you?
Okay. So I am kind of thinking, I guess I'm always kind of doing thought experiments. I like to produce a lot of content, and my content's always designed to help people become better, to impact their lives in a positive way. And like the best way I can do that is to kind of see like, well, what are the things that's going on that's having negative impact on them? Or more accurately, in what ways are they having negative impacts on themselves? And like, why is this occurring? And what I realized from 2022 and the Kill the Lies was that like that wasn't quite enough, because I can tell someone who's currently dealing with a financial struggle and trying to figure out how they're going to pay for the gym. I would say in most instances they're not trying to figure out how to pay for the gym. They have a financial friction point, and they're just trying to escape that pain. And I can sit there and say like, well, you know, if your body's important to you, you'll figure out a way to pay for it, or we should budget for this, or let's talk about how we can budget. Like, where in your budget can we take things away? Is there a way that we can increase our income? Those are solutions to the objective issues.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But they don't address the subjective, the emotion behind it, and is the emotion that we're all pretty much driven by. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of thoughtful, purposeful practice to be able to be aware of your emotions without letting them guide you. Most of us are guided by our emotions.
No. Guilty.
So, and I mean, we're all, that's everyone. It's not like I'm good at this and you're not. It's just, we all have varying degrees of awareness and ability to deal with it. And so what I kind of realize is like, ultimately the best thing for that person is to come up to this pain point, have a belief that they can find a solution to this pain point, overcome that pain point, have that experience of overcoming that pain point to better overcome future pain points. What tends to happen is we have a pain point and we quit. We allow that pain point to change our behavior. Every single person we know allows that pain point to change their behaviors. So we have no prior experience, we have no cultural experience to do so. And then even though we may know that not exercising is a bad thing, we can't clearly see a solution, and we've never solved this problem in the past. So we have no belief that we will be able to get over this pain. And so the whole theme of 2023 was really built around this idea of clarifying future pain to motivate you to overcome present pain. So the idea being is we don't just kill the lies with truth, we paint a picture of two future outcomes. So there's a future outcome that has more pain. you have pain today, whatever that friction point is. And if you allow that friction point, if you escape that pain today, you're going to have more pain tomorrow. If you overcome that this pain today, you have greater pleasure tomorrow. But too often, that future pain and pleasure is just way too vague. It's unclear. And so how can we choose between a very unclear future potential pain that I'm not really aware of and this current pain that I'm in right now?
I got you. Can you walk us through like a scenario there so we can like follow that along, just kind of see those trajectory of the two so we can kind of really visualize that? Because I think that's super important, is to see exactly what you're describing and be able to walk through that.
Yeah, and so that I put this in our letter, but let's continue down the path of the financial one. Now, I will say this. All pain points are resource-based.
Interesting.
So, and we can think of what are our resources.
Yeah.
So we have money as a resource. We have time as a resource. We have physical health as a resource. Mental health as a resource. And then we could also put relationships in there as resources as well. And what we need to kind of recognize is that that proper stewardship of those resources is the only acceptable usage of those resources. Wasting them is not an acceptable usage of those resources.
Okay, so wasting time, money, relationships, you name it.
Yeah.
Wasting that is not.
That's not acceptable.
Not acceptable.
Yeah,
okay.
That's not a way to live life.
I got you.
And we know that.
Yeah. You feel that.
You know.
Yeah. You waste any, like you were talking about earlier, you waste any, you talk about leading by emotion, like you feel it.
Yeah.
Like you waste any of those things and it's like, this sucks.
Yeah, if it sucks, you feel bad about it.
Yeah.
That's your conscience telling you, you mismanaged that. Learn from that and don't do it again.
Yeah.
What is wealth? Wealth is an abundance of resources. What is poverty? It is a lack of resources. But we live in an American culture that only really values one resource: money.
Yeah.
And so what we tend to do is mismanage other resources in the pursuit of that one resource. And then we also go ahead and mismanage the shit out of that resource.
Fair assessment.
And so, if someone told to me, if we paint this picture, what is a 55-year-old multimillionaire whose health is crumbling, has poor relationships, puts 80 hours a week of work in, is stressed out, has back pain, That's a poor person.
Okay. That's a great way to put that. That's a great way to put it. And I think that's important to reframe that, especially in the context of the American society and what we're all battling. Because that is it. That's the message that we get is that's a wealthy man, but when you look at it, you put it that way, it's that's someone that's struggling with their resources, resource allocation is poor. Yeah. That's a great way to put it. That paints a pretty good picture.
That's someone who's poor at resource management. There's a poor person. That person's in poverty.
Yeah.
Now, and so our pain points are around I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. My physical health is decreased. I've got pain there. Mentally, I've got pain because I've got improper mental health or diminished mental health, or I don't have any good quality relationships. So and then all those kind of impact everyone, right? So going back to kind of example, let's say we have we got a 25-year-old who's just recently started work, or they're kind of younger in their career.
Okay.
Don't have a whole lot of savings built up. Wanting to have fun and do the things you can do when you're 25 and so on and so forth. But they like exercising and it's important to them, right? And so, they're stretching a little bit to pay $200 a month, especially when all their friends are paying, $15 a month.
Sure.
But they'll like it. Then they have their car breaks down.
Gotcha.
So the car breaks down, like, oh crap. The way I budgeted my money was for every dollar that comes in, every dollar goes out. And now there's a pain point of now somehow I'm going to have to find new dollars to go out because I'm either have to repair this car or I'm going to have to get this car fixed. And so they would go, well, most people are going to say, well, then I will have to cut something.
Okay. Yep. For natural instinct.
I have to cut something.
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times what we'll do is, cut the thing that's the biggest.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Look at its size, not value. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what's the future issues with this? Well, for a lot of 20-year-olds, or let's say this 20-year-old, it's been dealing with some mental health kind of stuff. They don't have any really good quality relationships. They're new in the city. They got their work friends, but all their work friends, they just want to kind of go out and drink or do drugs. They're already putting in like super long hours. And so if they quit the gym, they lose these positive relationships, this active engagement with other people who are like-minded and are and are making positive, healthy choices. And now, who do then they replace those relationships with?
Interesting.
This 1 hour a day that they were giving to themselves to make themselves better, for stress relief, for resiliency, their deposits, they build up their physical fitness, they make their body feel good, it makes their brain feel good. What do they then replace that with?
Yeah, absolutely. It's
nothing healthy.
Nothing healthy. Yeah, nothing healthy. And it drops in that cycle that we were talking about earlier. Like it goes from that positive, like, hey, I'm reaffirming my community, my health, my investment in this and that, and just working that up, that kind of return on investment versus that downward spiral of, hey, I got to cut. I'm deciding to cut the gym. That's what I'm going to cut. Now I'm cutting my community a little bit. Now I'm cutting my mental health a little bit. Now I'm cutting this, and all of a sudden it bleeds out into the other resources. When in reality, you were doing your best. You thought that cutting that bigger expense out was going to be the ticket. That's a great example.
100%. And so, and then how does this play out?
Yeah, how do you navigate that? Yeah, what does that look like?
Well, I was like, okay. Hey, you're 25, and for a lot of these folks, it's like, yeah, I played a little sports in high school, then I stopped, and so in college, I wasn't really exercising. I would go run every once in a while, and now I kind of started work, and I was just working all day, and not really exercising. Now at 25, I've put on 30 pounds, and I've kind of lost some energy, and I'm feeling a little depressed, and kind of eating shitty, and that's what brought them to the gym in the first place. And the reality is like that person who's been training for 10 years ain't gonna quit. It's that person who's in the beginning journey. They're at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. It's just they don't have it solidified yet, but they've made a lot of great progress, and they're happy. But again, like this is a new pain point that they've never navigated. So it's like, what's the future outcome if you make this decision now? It's pain. It's freaking pain. If between 18 and 25 you put on 30 pounds, okay, and your knees are hurting a little bit, or your back's hurting a little bit, your mental state's just a little kind of off, and you've been kind of like mismanaging your time a little bit, and like you haven't been able to really like navigate relationships well. What happens in 10 years? Or shit, what the fuck? Sorry, what happens over the next 1 year?
Yeah.
Are you willing to give away a freaking year of your life? Or another 5 years, or 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? Is that the type of person you want to be? It's probably not.
No, it's definitely not, because you can paint that picture.
Yeah.
You did this exercise with us as a staff, which was really cool. Yeah. And you asked us to look, make that choice, cut the gym out. What does that look like in 20 years?
Yeah.
And it was a scary prospect.
Yeah.
It was like, it really forces you to look at how much that affects everything you do, and why, understanding your why, which is your theme for 2023, why that's so important is to dig on that why, because it's not just about, like you said today, it paints that picture for 20 years, 25 years, and something we've talked about, your health span versus your lifespan. Like, it just kind of brings it together. It's like, we can't just kill the lies. We got to know why we're killing it, because when it gets rough, that's what we got to lean on.
And I'll kind of wrap it up. It's like, okay, so that's a future pain I don't want. Okay, then let's solve this problem today. Let's take personal responsibility for overcoming this pain today so that we have better pleasure, less pain in the future. Is there something else we can adjust? Is there something else we can cut out? And can we find a way to make more money? Can we go to our boss and say, hey, here's the deal. I'm looking for opportunities. Can we take some gig work? Is there some side stuff we can do? Like, is there a way that we can overcome this? And with a combination of like some budgeting and some little extra work, can we overcome this pain point? But that's the pain point. It's hard. It's going to take some work. You have to overcome this obstacle a little bit. But if you can do it, you're now set yourself up for future success. And not only that, you've gained the experience and the confidence that comes. So anyways, the theme of 2023 is a why to train for. And it was based off of a quote by Friedrich Nietzsche that is, he who has a why to live can bear the burden of almost any how. It's the idea is like, you're going to have to bear a burden to live a good life. Okay? So we better have a strong, powerful why to overcome that burden. So we need to have a strong and powerful why to train, because the question is not, are you going to face a pain point? At some time in your life, you're going to face a pain point of one of these resources. Your money is going to be stretched. Your time is going to be stretched. You're going to get injured. Your physical state is going to be stretched. Mentally, you're not going to be in it. Your relationships are going to get stretched. At some point, you are going to face this pain point. So the 2023 theme of like a why to train for is to go ahead and paint that picture and say, this is coming. So let's determine now how we're going to face it when it comes in the future.
I love that, man. Yeah. I think that's so awesome. And I think it's, I don't know, it kind of doubles down on that investment that we talk about so much at NBS. Is it's well worth the investment up front, at the end of January here, if we haven't already, to kind of really, you've put out some emails already, they kind of dug into it a bit, but to really hammer it home of like, take the time, walk through it, grab one of us if you don't know how to walk through it, and figure out your why. Yeah. Like, really paint that picture, not just today. Don't look at your points today. Like, those are relatively obvious. And if they're not, we'll help you find those too. We'll help you kill those current lies, but also looking forward of like, let's really paint that picture and be very specific, be very detailed, be granular. Like, don't leave it up in the air, and one of the things I went through, and some of y'all may know my story or not, but for me, I've struggled with substance use in my life, and fitness has helped me walk through that in a very large way, which is why I love sharing it. But when we looked at that, it immediately hit me 20 years out. If I didn't have this, I'd be dead. Yeah. There's no question, because if I didn't have my life right now, 20 years ago when I started this journey, I would not be here. Yeah. And it was like, there's no question. I know where that's going to go. Yeah. I know my why. It was really, really deep. So that's one thing I do want to ask you is before we wrap things up here in a few minutes, is what's your why? Like, why do you train? Like, let's lead with that, and then we'll kind of both dive on that a little bit.
So, my why was my mission and my legacy. Now, that's the condensed version that can be expanded on.
Sure.
But I live and breathe the belief that to be the best person that you can possibly be, you have to maintain your physical health and fitness. It can't be done without that. Like, I can't be a good dad if I'm not a fit dad. I can't be a good boss if I'm not a fit boss. I can't be a good husband if I'm not a fit husband. I can't be a good friend if I'm not a fit friend. And so my legacy is those relationships that I'm going to have throughout my life. So every person that I come in contact with, I'm going to leave some type of imprint on them. And the people I care about the most deserve the best from me. And so my legacy is those imprints that I'm going to leave on people throughout life. And my mission is to help other people recognize the importance of health and fitness so that they can be better in all their roles and so that they can leave better imprints along the way. And so that's my why in as condensed a version as I can make it.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think that's something important for anybody listening to know is it's going to be difficult to distill it down to a statement.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard, and it should be. Like, there should be a lot in there. It should be emotional. It should tie it to it. And I know mine is, some of mine is pretty similar. And it's, I believe that each one of us has a very special purpose, a gift in life. But we tend to kind of get in our own way, which prevents us from sharing that gift with the world. And so my mission is to use training to learn how to navigate those different struggles and obstacles so that I can then share them with anybody that I meet along the way. So if I'm not fit, if I'm not walking through those struggles, if I'm not kind of taking on those challenges and challenging what the status quo is, then I'm not able to walk next to somebody and shine the flashlight on the path and say like, hey, we've walked down that path. Like, we can go here and it's going to be the better route. Like, trust me, or we're in that current problem. We're sitting there. You can't see the forest because of the trees, that obstacle's in your face. Let's navigate that together. That for me, when I look at that why, it makes it easier to walk through the struggles. Because to your point, there's struggles. I've done this for a very long time, and it's still really, really hard on some days. And, I need coaches and mentors, but if I don't have that why, it's easy to walk away. Mm-hmm. It's easy to change. It's easy to give up. It's easy to hit the snooze button. Yeah. It's easy to not go to class. It's much easier to do that.
And I think having that strong why is kind of the first foundation, but like being able to be reminded of it is kind of the second foundation.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what, and this is something I'm really excited about, is what will NBS be doing to support the members on their goals in 2023 by drawing on their why?
Yeah, so basically we're sending out an email to everyone, just basically ask, like, it's a exercise sheet asking them these questions, asking them to kind of do a thought experiment to see that future pain and that future pleasure, and hone in on their why, and then write it down so that we have it. I also ask that everyone put it up in a place where they're going to see it and engage with it regularly. Write it on your sink mirror. Make it the background of your phone. Put it the background of your computer. I'm not going to share this thought, but I'll share the picture when it comes out. But it's what I did for all you guys, and your whys, and so you have that to be reminded of, and it just can kind of trigger you if you're kind of done with it. It's just that one day little friction point. I may sleep in today, or oh crap, your utility bill is more than it was. Let's go through our finances, that kind of stuff. But then too, now we have it. And so one of the things we changed up in like our NSI process was, one of the questions is, when you're struggling and wanting to quit, what do you want me to remind you of? Dang. That's your why. Because when you come to me and say, hey, I think I need to put my gym membership on pause, I'm going to say, okay, how is this going to impact your grandkids? You said you wanted to pick them up.
Yeah. What's
your life look like when you sit on the porch and watch your grandkids play in the yard, and they come up to you and say, hey, granddad, pick me up. I want to have a hug. Hey, guess how many of these do you get? You don't get infinity. Dang. You get 5 more, 10 more. What would you do for 5 more hugs from your grandkids?
That cuts deep, dude.
Well, get your ass in the gym.
Yeah.
Because it ain't going to happen if you don't. That's what I'll remind you of. Like, your grandkids are depending on you to exercise so they can pick you up so you can get 10 more hugs.
That's special. If that's not a deeper why to train, I don't know what is, and I think that's really cool. And, I think we leave it there.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful note to end on. And, I hope everybody enjoyed that. I hope everybody understands kind of where we're coming. Be on the lookout. There's going to be more emails coming out regarding the why and the opportunity to fill out. And I highly, highly, highly encourage you to do so, to share your why with us so that we can keep you accountable and we can all kind of do this together as we march through 2023 with a little more intention. So it was awesome. Again, give us any questions you got, but we'll hopefully see everybody in the gym soon.
All right, y'all. We out.
See you.
All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that podcast as much as I did and can see and feel why it was one of my most favorite podcasts of all time to do. I hope it inspired you. I hope it inspires you to take action and to overcome those obstacles that may be sitting in your way by having a powerful why that helps you lean into the pain of today so that you can reduce your pain and have greater pleasure in the future, so that you can live the life that you deserve. If you're struggling, if you need help, if you need some guidance, we're here to help you. Go to our website, mbsfitness.net, click the button to sign up for a no sweat intro, and let's get this journey started together.
Thank you for listening to NBS Fitness Radio. If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to share it with your friends, follow us on social media, and check out our website at www.nbsfitness.net. Hit the subscribe button and tune in next time for more NBS Fitness Radio.